Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the third episode of Geek Garage Goes to the Movies. I am David.
I'm Ted.
Hello, Ted.
Hello, David.
Thanks for joining me again.
I didn't have a choice.
You didn't, and I appreciate you coming regardless of, choices, whatever. Anyways, today we decided to talk about the latest kaiju monster movie that just hit the movie theater as of
Thursday was preview.
Thursday-ish, yes.
Yeah.
Of course, we're talking about the new Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and we have a few things to say. We do, and we will be getting to those here shortly. What else?
It's a fucking monster movie. We ain't got to explain shit.
So let's talk about Godzilla. Yes, Ted, you are a fan of these movies, right?
I am a Godzilla nerd.
Yeah, you've seen a lot more of the OG Godzilla films than I have.
Yeah, so I kind of grew up on these. I remember watching these like every couple of months. On Saturday nights, there would be like midnight monster movie madness or whatever on one of those old cable channels from the 90s. And I remember watching like the more tongue-in-cheek movies. So like once they had already kind of gotten corny and they introduced like Godzilla Jr.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And of course these were all like dubbed, so the dubbing was bad on top of everything.
Right.
But I mean, when you're like, I was probably like 8 or 10 years old, I thought that was the coolest shit I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
You know? And I guess I just never grew out of it. So I love all of movies. From the original 54 version that's like super dramatic and dark, up through like the more, I guess, kid friendly movies. And then to the new Hollywood stuff, the 2014 movie, and then King of the Monsters. The only one I really don't care for is the 98 version with Matthew Broderick.
In fairness, if you run into someone that does care for that, or dare I say likes that movie, I don't think anyone is obligated by any means to like or even love that person.
Right. They're not worthy of your time.
Right.
I mean, all that said, so like the 98 version gets a bad rap, and it's well deserved in a lot of cases, but I think part of the problem is if you take the name Godzilla off of it and it's just like random monster movie,
right?
It's immediately like 30% less terrible. It's still not a good movie. There's still a lot of problems with it,
right?
But it's not quite so like offensive, right? But yeah.
It's appropriate for that time period because it kind of came out where like shit like The Relic was coming out and other like, shit blows up and weird monsters are coming out of, weird things.
It's a very like late 90s American monster movie.
Right.
It's very much a product of its time. I totally agree with that.
Right.
But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about a much better film.
Right.
In a lot of ways. And a much not as good film in other ways.
Yeah, I guess let's go ahead and get a few of the bad things out of the way.
Yeah,
so then we can, kind of gush about some of the good things.
Right on. Well, let me stop you right there and let me say, if you have not seen the movie,
oh yeah,
spoilers for sure. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff.
Like usual.
As usual. If you have seen the movie and you disagree, at me on Twitter. Fight me in real life.
Right.
But definitely if you have seen it, or if you have not seen it, stop now, watch it, and then come listen to the podcast after you've seen it.
Yeah. So I think probably the best case for one of the not so great things about the movie is the script writing and the dialogue.
Dialogue is not good.
We still have yet to have like an excellent dialogue and character based Godzilla movie, which a good argument can be made that it's not about the characters, it's about the monsters.
Right.
But I don't think it should be this hard to have characters like interact with each other that's not in a terrible fashion.
Yeah, so I agree with everything you said. I want to point out particularly, especially with Godzilla movies, because a lot of the like comebacks to the criticism of the characters are bad. The human characters are bad. Mm-hmm. People are saying, well, it's a Godzilla movie. The human characters have always been bad. And while that's not a 100% accurate statement, it's definitely more true than false. Mm-hmm. But again, I also agree with what you said of like, just because it's always been this way doesn't mean it still has to be.
Right.
This is the first time I've ever watched a Godzilla movie and actively wanted the humans to die.
Yes, same. I was like, why is this so fucking terrible? Like,
yeah,
I was wondering if I had just become like a total movie snob, and I was like, is it too much to ask for a little bit of realistic dialogue here?
Yeah.
Or I mean, is Vera Magara, whatever her name is.
Farmiga?
Yeah. God, I'm fucking terrible with names. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was like, why do you have to be so goddamn terrible?
Right. So I have a lot of thoughts about her that we'll get to. I will say there are two characters, three technically, I guess, that I did not actively despise.
Ice Cube's son.
There are four. Ice Cube's son.
Okay.
O'Shea Jr., who I will forgive for almost anything based on who he is and who his father was. Ice Cube's son, O'Shea Jackson
Oh,
Jr.
yeah, okay.
He also has what I think is the funniest line in the movie, where it's the one F-bomb where he's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
So his character, Ken Watanabe, who plays Dr. Serizawa,
Yes.
who is the only character,
Hands down.
The only smart character in the whole fucking movie.
Yep.
I can't remember. I think it's Dr. Ling. She plays two different characters. Ziyi Zhang plays two different characters. She plays the twin doctors. One of them, which is a nod to the Mothra twins from the older Godzilla continuity.
Okay.
But she plays the one that's on the ship, one of the main doctors, and then it's almost like a glorified cameo when Mothra hatches. You see her and it's like her sister, her character's sister, because they're twins. They're the only ones, basically. The main Kyle Chandler's character, who is super intelligent, but also a complete train wreck of a human being.
Right.
My whole thing is like, this so as big a movie as this was, I know there were a lot of hands. There was a lot of cooks in the kitchen, so to speak. Right. You're telling me nobody looked at this script and was like, guys, have you ever met a human being before?
Yeah, like, this is not the way we talk.
Right.
I felt like Thomas Middledish's character was a little wasted because he does the really awkward, like, kind of scientific dude really well. I don't know if you've ever watched Silicon Valley, but he's really good in that. I mean, that's kind of like his worst case scenario as far as awkward character.
Right.
And I say worst case scenario in a good way.
Right.
Because he plays that really awkward person so well. So that this was a much more tamed down version of that. But I thought his character was a little wasted. It just seemed like he was kind of thrown in as an afterthought. I wish that they would have given him a lot more to do. But like you said, there was... I don't know if you like literally meant as far as actors go, there was too many cooks in the kitchen, or that, and figuratively, and like writing wise. But I think that also applies. Is that,
and then Vera Farmiga's character,
wet blanket.
So, I mean, I knew that the twist was going to be that she was working with eco-terrorists. I was like, because the trailer didn't come right out and say that, but I remember in one of the trailers, it had it had some of the cuts from where she's on the video screen talking to them. Like, it was the only way. And I'm not stupid. I put two and two together. I was like, somehow this is going to be her fault. So when she gets quote unquote kidnapped, and then like 10 minutes later you find out, oh no, the twist is that she staged this. She got in touch with the eco-terrorist group. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, give me a break with this. But like, she's basically the worst war criminal in human history, right? And yet somehow she gets somewhat of a redemptive arc because oh, she apologized and went to find her daughter. No, fuck that.
No.
All right, you unleashed literal demons from hell and destroyed like a good chunk of the human population and have basically left Boston. Actually, I'm gonna stop it because they improved Boston, but they basically destroyed Boston. I was just like, you're fucking. If you survive this, I'm petitioning to have you lined up on the wall and shot. Right? Like you're getting your own fucking Nuremberg.
Right.
But no, she gets off. Well, she dies, so she doesn't get off quite scot-free. But like, she has that redemptive arc where like her and her ex-husband Kyle Chandler make up, and Millie Bobby Brown's character forgives them both. I'm like, no, fuck that. Your mom sucks, and your dad's kind of a dick too.
Yeah,
and also you're annoying as a child. Fuck the whole family.
Yeah, hopefully they. I mean, so this is her first role in this this franchise. So I'm hoping that they bring Millie Bobby Brown back for what is it next? Like King Kong versus Godzilla.
Godzilla versus Kong. And this is, I think, Millie Bobby Brown's first movie, and she's not bad in it.
No, like she doesn't really have anything to do.
Right, like her whole character basically is just like yell at her mom and cry and be in awe of the kaiju.
Right.
So like this,
and then
there's nothing really for her to
put
do.
the what is it, the orca next to the PA
fucking
system.
MacGuffin.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
To end all MacGuffins.
The literal MacGuffin.
Yeah. So it's nothing against her or really any of the actors or actresses in it. It's just the writing is so fucking stilted and bad.
Yeah.
And as a character, Vera Farmiga's character is the devil, and I hate her. But again, like I think that they're talented people involved. It's just the human aspects of the script are fucking bad.
Yeah, I mean, there's too many talented people in this movie to say that, to blame it all on the acting.
Right.
I feel like there was just too many, like you said, too many cooks in the kitchen and too many people like at the top saying, yeah, there's no wiggle room for switching up the script or impromptu lines or anything. Like, this is the way it was written from the beginning, and there's no change in it now.
Yeah. So those are kind of my overall negatives with the movie. I have some more specific ones that we can hit on if you want, or if you have anything else.
That was my main gripe, was just the a little bit of the acting, but mostly just the script writing. Like 10 minutes into it, my eyes hurt from rolling them too much.
Like the one that sticks out, maybe the worst to me, is when they pick up Kyle Chandler, I can't remember his character's name, and they're like, your wife and daughter have been kidnapped, we need your help. So he's on this huge ship with the military and with the rest of the doctors from Monarch, and they're going over this plan, and he just jumps in. He's like, no, you need to do this. Da, da, da. And for whatever reason, at first they're like, dude, shut the fuck up. This is the military. They will shoot you in the face.
Right.
But then suddenly everybody's just like, yeah, let's listen to him. It's just like an immediate change. It's never explained. At least I don't think it's explained why. They're just like, well, script. Like, let's go for it.
Yeah. It's just like all these people with all these guns decide to listen to this fucking nobody.
And like,
every
character on the ship is either in the military or is a doctor.
Right.
And yet they're all just like, yeah, fuck it, listen to the white guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
also, as far as wasted characters, but room for growth is, and I'm blanking on his name. He's been around for a while. He was the older gentleman. He also played Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones. I'm like I said, I'm blanking on the actor's name, but you know who we're talking about, the head of
the eco-terrorist group.
Yeah. It definitely seems like he's going to be back.
He's a good actor.
Yes. It definitely seems like he's going to be back for the next one. So we can
we'll come back to that.
Yeah, we can hope that there's room for growth as far as being more involved with the movie and having more room for him to stretch his legs and show off his acting skills as a bad guy
Right.
in the film.
The only other two negatives I had, and these aren't nearly as visceral of a dislike as I had for the terrible writing. So they go to what is basically Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I was like, okay, I can only suspend my fucking disbelief so far. You're asking for a lot here already.
Yeah, I didn't really have a problem with that for whatever reason. Like I was like, well, the rest of the movie is pretty fucking ridiculous. I mean, they're giant monsters, so I'll suspend I'll suspend my disbelief for this. I can definitely see where you're coming from.
My problem wasn't necessarily that they went to Atlantis, because they talk a lot about the Hollow Earth theory in the movie, so they set it up. And also, there's a little bit of that if you haven't seen Kong Skull Island, they set it up a little bit there too.
Yeah, there was a lot of, I don't want to use the word Easter eggs, but like kind of, I guess, throwbacks or callbacks or nods to the fact that, because I mean, it's been talked about for a while and then solidified that there was going to be some crossover action between Kong Skull Island and this film. Or this franchise, and that the next movie would involve both of them.
Right. So, like I said, my problem wasn't as much that they went to what is basically Atlantis. Mm-hmm. It's the fact that we have a ship full of fucking doctors, and at least one of whom is a conspiracy theorist, and nobody was like, "Guys, is this Atlantis or what?" It's just like,
right.
It's just one of those. I guess maybe they're all just having like supreme PTSD, where they're like, hey, we just survived a literal monster fight. I don't really fucking care what's happening right now.
Right.
But I just was like, but that goes back to the script, so maybe there's a deleted scene out there where there's like a 2-minute conversation. We're like, guys, is this like the biggest scientific discovery fucking ever right now?
Right. Yeah, they just didn't have time to dwell on it because the rest of the world was kind of crumbling.
They couldn't be like, hey, let's live here. Fuck it. Let's just stay here.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have like sort of kind of food and and water packs and and whatnot.
But all that said, to love Godzilla films is to be very forgiving, and I'm willing to look past it. It does, and I'm willing to look past all that and be like, this movie is everything I fucking wanted it to be. I got to see King Ghidorah and Godzilla straight up go 12 rounds. Yeah, it was the shit.
Yes, we were talking a little bit before this. The style choosing for Ghidorah, I really enjoyed, because they definitely chose to style it from a very ancient Japanese, like, artistic standpoint. Where you've seen like 3-headed dragons or just dragons in general, that kind of Japanese style that we're all used to. Because I don't think you really got a whole lot of close-up shots and detail shots from the trailer, which was good, because it left a lot to be explored, and you wanted to made you want to go see it.
Yeah.
So I definitely enjoyed that. I think you did too.
I thought the design for all the creatures was on point.
The mammoth was fucking cool.
Yeah, I don't know which one, because they named them, but I can't remember which one it was. That's an original character for this. Like, that's not. So like the Toho characters are Godzilla, of course, King Ghidorah, Mothra, Rodan, but they also had like Baphomet, Typhoon, which were like creations specifically for this, because they say 17 Titans.
Right.
There are other kaiju from the Godzilla universe that weren't in this that I'm hoping eventually show up.
Yeah.
But I was pleasantly surprised with the original designs, because they could have gone a really bad direction with them and made them too over the top. But I think that they were stylized in such a way, and they were created in such a way that they're interesting without being.
As I bitch slap my microphone, I am very sorry, and then I just scared my dog off the couch. He's like, "Oh shit, at the deck!" Sorry, Harvey. My bad.
Yeah, I agree 100% with how Ghidorah looked. I thought he looked awesome. That's maybe the best he's ever looked. Thank you, Harvey, for that. There's of the creature designs, like Rodan looks awesome. Mothra.
Rodan was the pterodactyl dude that came out of the volcano.
Came out of the volcano, yeah. Okay. Mothra is beautiful.
Right.
That is the best. the best Mothra has ever looked.
Yeah.
She was on point.
Yeah. Yeah, she was great.
She was awesome. And then the original creatures that they created just for this also looked very cool. They were different in terms of design, so it wasn't just like more, oh, this is obviously like a dragon ripoff or a dinosaur creature. There was the one, I don't know which creature it was, maybe the behemoth. It was like a cross between a gorilla and a mammoth with like the huge tusks.
Right, yeah, that's
I was
that's
like, that
kind of
looked
what
cool
I was.
as shit.
Yeah, like I was like, it definitely looks part mammoth, but it kind of looked from certain angles like it was walking on hands.
Yeah,
like
like
fists.
an ape would. Yeah.
But I mean, it obviously had giant tusks. So yeah. No, I definitely agree with all that. That the creature design or kaiju design was definitely on point. There was something that I just thought of. This kind of ties into that. Speaking directly to the creatures, monsters, whatever you want to call them, is what I really liked is there was definite tiebacks or callbacks to like lore, like old Godzilla lore that are kind of, from like the MCU, for example. Whenever they call back to something that only like hardcore comic book nerds would know, and then everyone else that's basically been following the movies, like me, I'm like, duh, I don't know what they're talking about. I thought it was very cool to kind of tie in like old school Godzilla lore that, unless you're like, a fan that's very knowledgeable on all of Godzilla's, competition throughout history.
Right.
That you'd be the most knowledgeable about. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And I will say this, like, one thing in reading interviews with Mike Dougherty, the director of this movie, like, you can tell he has a deep love of Godzilla and the Godzilla mythos.
Right.
So there are going to be some updates and tweaks to modernize or to like Americanize some of the stuff, but he kept a lot of it very true to the source material. So there's a lot of parallels and a lot of callbacks, like you said, like Ken Watanabe's character.
Yeah.
Dr. Serizawa, that's a character from the original film, the 54 version. I don't know if that's a nod specifically or if we'll find out that there's some sort of relation. I don't think it would make sense for there to be a relation, just because this is like a different universe, so to speak, than the 54 movie. But in the 54 version, Dr. Serizawa creates the oxygen destroyer bomb, which is what they use to kill Godzilla at the end of the film.
Right.
That's a nice parallel to this one, where Dr. Serizawa sacrifices himself to bring Godzilla back to life. Right. Or re-energize, because he's not technically dead. But so that's a cool like parallel. Yeah. They show the Mothra twins, the two scientists, the sisters. They're also in this movie, played by, again, Zi Zhang. Excuse me. So,
what this is something that I was kind of curious about that I figured you could probably answer. Was there a point in Godzilla's cinematic history where he stopped becoming like I guess a quote unquote villain or bad guy or evil kaiju and became like, one that fights the bad ones that want to, eviscerate humanity?
Right. So yes, in this one, or in this iteration of Godzilla, so from the 14 movie to now, they've basically made him an apex predator. So that he's fighting Mothra, or I'm sorry, not Mothra, but Mothra's also a benevolent creature, but he's fighting Rodan and Ghidorah because he's an apex. He's hunting, basically. Yeah. They really cough bullshit science it up to where they're like responding to the call of an alpha. It's one of those like, okay, all right, it's a Godzilla movie. It doesn't have to make a whole lot of sense. Right. So they've changed it a little bit. Kind of in the Japanese series, he goes from being evil-ish, I guess, in the original because he is destroying cities, but he's created as a metaphor for like nuclear war, right? And then as it goes on, the Godzilla series gets very out there very quickly.
Yeah.
And then he ends up fighting Ghidorah to protect humanity and stuff like that. Another cool callback or nod is in the originals, and originals is kind of the wrong word because this isn't really a remake of sorts, but in the Japanese series, Ghidorah is sent from Venus, I believe. And then in this one, when they use the oxygen destroyer bomb and it doesn't kill Ghidorah, the scientists are like, well, that can't be, he doesn't breathe oxygen. What is that? And I think it's Yi Zhang's character who's like, well, he might be an alien. That might be why he's upsetting the natural balance and why everything is going crazy now that he's awake, because he's not from here and it's throwing off the natural order of Earth nature.
Right.
Which is another cool nod. And I do hope they kind of figure out a little more and expound upon that, because I'm interested in that. Ghidorah was always my favorite, other than Godzilla, and they're kind of like 1A and 1B.
Right.
So we'll see. I thought that was cool, but like I said, they definitely bullshit science this one up a lot.
Yeah, it definitely seems like Ghidorah might be coming back in some form or fashion with that post-credit scene.
Right. So in the post-credit scene, the head of the eco-terrorism unit, I can't remember this character's name, but he goes to the same village in Mexico that they find Rodan in.
Right.
And a fisherman is like, we found this, and it's Ghidorah's head. It's the one that Godzilla bites off in the first fight they have that eventually grows back.
Right.
And he's just like, oh yeah, we can do something with this. And so I thought about this, and it could go a couple of different ways. So there is a character, Mecha King Ghidorah, which is like a cyborg Ghidorah. There's also a creature called Destroya, which is a little more complicated to explain, and I'm not 100% on it, but I believe Destroya was a combination of different kaiju DNA and mechanics, so like a cyborg again. There's going to be somebody on the internet that's a bigger Godzilla nerd than me listening to this. It's going to be like, actually... and if that's the case,
and we welcome your knowledge.
We do welcome. Just don't be a dick about it. So that could go a couple of different ways. I'm definitely stoked for it. I know the next movie is Godzilla versus Kong, which comes out next year. I'm sure that as long as these keep making money, they're going to keep making them.
Yeah.
So I would say that we might not see where this goes with Godzilla versus Kong.
Sure.
But maybe the one after that, we'll see.
Yeah, my initial guess was it would be a little misleading with the Godzilla vs. Kong title, where if they do decide to tie the new version of Ghidorah into the next one, then it would be kind of Godzilla versus Kong for part of the movie, kind of battling for the I guess the alpha apex predator, until they realize that there's like a there's like a biomechanical 3-headed machine that's headed their way that doesn't give a fuck about anyone.
Right. They have finished filming Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm guessing it's in post-production now. They're finishing up some of the CGI because it comes out in about a year, I think.
It's pretty good pacing.
Yeah.
I mean, to have him coming out.
Based on the way Godzilla wrecked shit in this movie, Kong just needs to go ahead and take his L and sit this one out. I saw a lot of people on the internet that were talking about like, oh well, in Skull Island he wasn't fully grown and this and that. Yo, Godzilla just went thermonuclear and was literally melting Boston as he walked through it. All right, Kong needs to sit the fuck down.
Right.
He's gonna get worked, and if he doesn't, me and Warner Brothers are gonna fight. The actual Warner Brothers. I'm gonna dig them up and we're gonna fight.
Right. Fight their skeleton asses.
Right. But I'm excited for it. I don't give a shit. I'll keep watching Godzilla movies until I die.
Yeah, for sure. No, me as well. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said before, I didn't really make any notes. I know we basically planned on doing this episode before the movie came out, so it's been on deck for a while.
Right, we just are
I just
worthless and haven't gotten to it.
Yeah,
It's because
I'm just
we
a
did
piece of shit when it comes to taking notes. At least this time around. I mean,
it's because we did 2 episodes on John Wick. Not that I'm complaining.
Right. I was about to say we should open up the episode by saying, the only thing that was missing from this movie, aside from good script writing, was John Wick.
Yeah. You know what? Just put Keanu in everything. I don't care. I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I did like also something we talked on. There were a lot of callbacks, and that the director was obviously, you could tell that this was like a labor of love for him. Mm-hmm. The soundtrack is fucking golden. Right. It is awesome. I love that they have the classic Godzilla theme in this. They've interpolated it from the 54 version. The dun 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 dun. I love that so much.
Yeah, I was. We were talking about that earlier. How I felt it was a little familiar. I was like, what? And I asked you if that was from the movie. I totally meant to ask after the movie, but we just got kind of caught up in talking about just everything and what we thought and just everything in general. So I meant to ask, and you were like, yeah, that's from the original.
There's actually a couple of the original themes.
Okay,
that's the most noticeable one, but I'm pretty sure the Mothra theme is based on the original. I think King Ghidorah's theme is based on the original as well. Okay. There's also, over the end credits, a cover of the Blue Oyster Cult song Godzilla, done by I think it's like Gene Hoglan and Brendan Small, who were in the Death Clock band that was on that show Metalocalypse.
Yeah.
Gene Hoglan's was also in some of the other big 80s thrash bands. Yeah. And it's sung by Serge from System of a Down. Yeah.
I don't know how he pronounces his last name.
Is it Tonkian? Tankian? I'm not sure how he says how it's pronounced, but it's Serge from System of a Down. Yeah. I was never a big System of a Down guy, but he has a very recognizable voice. Yes. And I thought it was like an interesting update of that song. It was all right, Yeah. But I thought overall the soundtrack was awesome. Right. Definitely pleased with how they brought back some of the golden era themes and sort of updated them a little bit because they're not like one for
but not bastardized them.
Right. They definitely, like I said, it was a labor of love. Yeah. The cinematography in this movie is fucking beautiful.
Oh yeah, we should as an aside to that, we should definitely talk about our unique theater experience because I don't think I bet a lot of people don't even know that this kind of theater exists because I didn't know until we went. Yeah. So what we're talking about is it's what ScreenX?
ScreenX.
Yeah. And so it is I think it's 270 degree experience is what they call it. And basically, so you walk, imagine, your typical theater. It feels like the walls are a little bit more closed in, so it feels more.
The theater is smaller.
Yeah, definitely smaller, both in width and length, but definitely width. But other than that, just imagine your typical theater, but you have your walls, and they the movie projector projects the movies on the walls as well as the screen in front of you, so the whole movie is filling your peripheral vision. So a lot of the concept behind going to an IMAX movie and sitting closer and having the big screen fill your peripheral vision as much as possible, it's kind of the same concept but taken to the absolute fucking max.
Right. So
and it doesn't do it for the whole movie, but just the
big scenes, like the fight scenes, or some of the bigger set pieces where they're exploring what is basically Atlantis. Right. It has that. Yeah. I think it's a cool concept. Mm-hmm. I think because I'm so tall, so I could it was very easy for me to see the projector. It would light up 5 or 10 seconds before the side screens came up.
Yeah, it must have been a size thing.
It was a little distracting.
Because I definitely didn't pick up on that. I mean, I could tell when they were about to start a scene, because I don't know, it was just some sort of transition of the projectors kicking on and them signifying that they were going to project on the walls as well.
Right.
So,
but I think it's cool. I would definitely see another movie. It's not like 3D to me, where 3D just like I don't like at all. There's nothing about it that I like. I liked this. I just think that maybe it was where we sat. Maybe if we sat in a different part of the theater, it wouldn't have been as distracting.
maybe more towards the middle.
Maybe. Because it's a cool concept.
Yeah.
Once you get over the initial like, whoa, you know.
Yeah, I was like, am I gonna be sick? Because like just like the IMAX theater has, there is a kind of introductory thing, mainly for the people that haven't been to this kind of theater before, just to kind of show off the capabilities of this kind of projector and this whole experience, this 270-degree experience, and that part is cool. Where it very much feels like a planetarium or like an immersive ride that you do at like Six Flags or Disney World or something, where you'd go and like the seats move, but like the projector, it feels like the world is moving and you're moving with it. But you're obviously not. It's just kind of fucking with your senses.
Right. Yeah. Once I got past the initial sort of once I got my bearings with it, I was like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah. I definitely wouldn't do it for just every single movie that I could potentially find that comes to that theater. But it's still a pretty cool concept, and I'd probably treat it just like an IMAX movie where for like bigger movies or like more bombastic films. Because obviously I don't have the ability to drop like $18 or $19 on a movie, just all the time.
Yeah. And I will say, like, I was pleasantly surprised. I don't think these tickets were any more than a normal movie. Because IMAX costs more and 3D costs more usually, but I'm pretty sure these were the same price as like a regular movie ticket. I think so.
I thought when I looked at the ticket prices, they were a couple dollars more, but I could be mistaken.
I don't know. I used my points, so I could be wrong. Yeah, none of this matters.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it added to the movie in a lot of ways.
For sure.
Definitely in more ways than it was distracting. And again, the technology itself wasn't distracting. Maybe it was where we said. It was just I could see that projector light, and I was like, oh, here it comes.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was saying, the cinematography is fucking gorgeous. There are a couple of different shots of this movie where I'm just like, yes.
Yeah. Like I looked over at you and I was like, yeah, you fucking see this shit? Do you see it? Do ya? And you were like, yeah, I fucking see that.
There were a couple of scenes that were so good, I was like nearly moved to tears. And I know that sounds so corny and like
I get it.
True art film snobs are gonna be like, peasant. But like I love all those movies too. It's just like the way they're set up. It's like, and again, you can tell it's a labor of love. My two favorite shots are of Ghidorah. Mm-hmm. The first one it's from the trailer where he's on top of the volcano, and he's got his three heads, and it does the wide angle, way zoomed out, and there's the cross in the foreground from the church in the village.
Sure,
and that just looks fucking dope.
Yeah,
and the second one is where he basically eats the power plant.
Yeah,
and goes Super Saiyan Ghidorah. And he spreads his wings and the fucking lightning storm goes off of him. And I was just like, inject this directly into my veins.
Right. Yeah, there was one point, it was right when they birthed Ghidorah, basically. And I think it was when he attacked another monster or something like that. It was maybe when he like eviscerated a bunch of humans. And I was just like, zap your dumbass.
Oh yeah, it's where they're running off of the carrier, and the first two guys off get hit with electricity and just get vaporized.
Yeah,
I was like, ain't that a bitch?
Right. Well, that sucks for you.
Yeah. Overall, like I said, stupid shit aside, I really liked this movie.
Yeah. The campy definitely worked well for this film.
Parts of it definitely did. I've seen a lot of people argue online about the CGI. Some people are like, it's super cutting edge and looks awesome. Some people are like, well, they cheaped out because all the fights are in like fog or storms or this or that. And I'm like, shut up forever, both of you, all of you involved.
Right.
It's a fucking awesome. You're watching two giant monsters fight. Nothing about this is bad.
Right.
I like it a lot. I don't think it's a great movie by any stretch. I think parts of it are great. Mm-hmm. I think the parts that work really fucking well.
Right.
I think the parts of it that don't, which we covered, do not work at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is definitely like it's got like a 40% or something on Rotten Tomatoes, but for critics, for audience is like a 90.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty accurate. I fall somewhere in between. I'd say this is probably like if I were going to rate it, I'd probably say it's like a 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I was about to say, I'd probably give it like a 75 or 80%.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's being pretty generous, but yeah, I feel like overall, the script writing aside and the lackluster acting, it was still very, very enjoyable.
Yeah.
And I'll be there for every subsequent film after this.
Yeah, I am. Even though I'm pretty sure Kong, like I said, I think Kong just needs to sit down and take his L. I'm gonna go see that shit opening weekend.
Yeah.
If there's a movie that comes out that says Godzilla, I'm gonna watch it.
All right.
I will say that aside from the 1954 version, which I think is still one of the best ones,
It's very good. I just recently watched it. For those listening at home, I mean, we've been talking about it obviously, but yeah, I just recently picked it up for the first time, and I actually really liked it. And I was watching it, and he was basically melting an entire city.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, this is getting kind of good. And you were like, yeah, it gets kind of bleak. And I'm like,
it's a dark movie.
yeah,
man.
I'm like, I mean, I guess. And right as I was about to text you, like, I don't really see it. Like, that family that's we were talking, I'm not sure if they're homeless or if they were just running away, and they just decided, fuck it, like, we're dead. And
the woman even says the line, because it's a woman and her
kids,
her two kids.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're homeless. I think that they're just trying to escape and they can't go any further.
Right. Yeah. And they're like, we're going to
go meet your father, and like basically that's saying like, hey, your father died in the war, and we're gonna be reunited with him because we're about to fucking die too.
That's what he's talking about.
But that's what I said. Like, Godzilla started out as a metaphor for nuclear war, right? So you got to think this is not far removed from the atomic bombs or from the Camp Bravo, Bikini Atoll nuclear test that affected that Japanese fishing boat. So that's still very much imprinted on the conscience of the Japanese public. So Godzilla started out as a metaphor for nuclear war. And that first movie is fucking heavy, man.
Yeah.
Even though it's got some campy stuff in it because it's a giant monster movie. But it's definitely like a dark film in a lot of ways. People, I think, forget that because they're used to probably the same way I am. They're used to the more, I guess, light-hearted, maybe, Godzilla movies, where they're more like the Midnight Movie Madness kind of films, which I still love, but like, man, it's a dark fucking movie.
Yeah.
The 14 and this one, don't do as good a job, I don't think, capturing some of that inherent, like, bleakness. But they're still good. I just totally stole your thunder. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. I mean, that totally adds to what I was getting at is that I had never before this checked out. Well, I mean, I like the OG, the 54 movie. I had never seen before. I like the really ridiculous ones that everyone kind of is familiar with, like the three VHS like box sets that you could find at like Walmart back in the 90s. Yeah. Like my brother and I would watch those like all the time and just have the time of our lives. Like Saturday evening, like we'd have our fucking Twizzlers and our Raisinets, and we sit down and watch Godzilla movies because we're fucking poor. And that's the best that we could do. But it didn't fucking matter because we had these hilarious fucking crazy monsters on TV just battling each other, and it was fucking dope. And yeah, it was like campy and over the top and ridiculous, but we just,
I dug them all.
Yeah.
I think in terms of the newer films, I believe it came out in 2016, but Shin Godzilla, or as it was called here, Godzilla Resurgence, is probably one of the stronger of the entire series.
I still need to check that out because I remember seeing the trailer for it, and I was like, this is this looks dope.
It's super, super good.
Yeah.
It's almost, it may be, it's up there with the 54 as like my 1A and 1B. Right. Because it keeps a lot of that, like, sort of darkness, if you will.
Yeah.
While updating it and, like, updating the science some so that it's a little more within the realm of possibility, you might say.
Right.
That said, like I said, I still loved King of the Monsters. I probably will end up seeing it again. I want to see it on the big screen in IMAX, just because I think it would look amazing. And also, I know some of my other friends want to go see it. I'll probably end up going with them.
Right on.
But like I said, to love Godzilla is to be very forgiving.
Indeed.
And I'm willing to be very forgiving to see King Ghidorah again.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it just comes with the territory of these kinds of movies where, you know, there's so much suspension of disbelief because it's not real life we're dealing with. It's, you know, giant monsters. So yeah, that's totally understandable. But with all that aside, I still, like I said, found it very, very enjoyable. I'll definitely check it out again. Probably not as soon as you will. I'll probably wait until Blu-ray when it comes out and check it out then. I can't wait until my son Charlie gets old enough to kind of enjoy these kinds of movies. Like right now, he's just at that age where he really likes, you know, monsters and dinosaurs especially, and just, you know, things that go RAWR and all that.
Right.
But, you know, I tried him out, and this was a little unfair of me to do, but I just wanted to test the waters to see how he'd do. And I was watching the original Jurassic Park several months ago, and it got to the infamous first T-Rex scene where, you know, it busts out the, you know, its cage when, you know, the power goes down. And so Charlie was kind of like running up and down the hallway, and he came in, and I was about to pause it, but I was like, well, I mean, he loves dinosaurs. Like, you know, let's see how he reacts. And so he looks, and he was like, oh, and he like almost bolted down the fucking hallway. But he just kind of like ducked out of the living room and was watching from a distance in the kitchen. Like
how kids do.
Yes. Yeah. He was like kind of poking, and like he looked at me with that scared look, but he was like, where he knew it was like a dinosaur, but like he had never seen one in this terrifying fashion before.
I mean, he's probably not too far off, man, because I was 7 or 8 when I started getting into Godzilla.
A couple years, I feel like. I mean, I'm very much looking forward to just the first time in general being able to take him to the movies to see anything, because I don't want the first memory of me taking him to the movies to be like the whole time me worrying about if he's going to be able to sit through it and all that. And, you know, I want it to be enjoyable and know that it's going to capture his attention. And you know, if we can't get through the whole thing, it'll be fine. But, you know, I at least want to go and get through a lot of it and, you know, have it be an enjoyable, memorable experience for him.
For sure.
So that's a very off-kilter topic for...
This we really got off track. We really did. That's all right.
It's still in the realm of, you know, monsters,
definitely,
and all that. So it's not like completely. Anyways, you want to do the shit that doesn't suck?
Yeah. So for this week, I'm gonna go back. I had mentioned this. The first one we did, I mentioned the movie Hero that I just watched with Jet Li, a wuxia film. That same director. Zhang Yimou, I believe, has a new movie out called Shadow. That's a limited release. We were fortunate enough to get it here in Nashville, playing at the local nonprofit, the Belcourt. I got a chance to go see it. It is awesome.
Indeed.
It's a little more dramatic than what a lot of people would consider like a kung fu movie to be.
Yes.
Right. It's got a lot more like political intrigue and stuff.
For sure.
But those are all very, very like kabuki theater, Chinese storytelling aspects. So like, if you're into Chinese cinema and wuxia films, you'll be used to that. Yeah. So I thought it was cool. It wasn't just like a quote-unquote like mindless fighting movie.
Right.
It's a very different film. It's a very dark film, both in terms of like story aspects as well as like color palette.
Yeah.
But
the color palette's fucking beautiful.
It is gorgeous. It's primarily like grayscale.
Yeah.
The movie's in color, but like the color palette is very
the saturation is turned down way low.
Right. It's just a great movie.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it. It'll be on VOD before too long, I'm sure, because it's a limited engagement.
Right. Yeah.
But definitely check that out when you're able to. It's highly recommended.
Right. Yeah. So thank you. Not like anyone from the Bell Court would be listening to this. Maybe they would.
Not like anybody is listening to this.
Right. I mean, we got to give ourselves some kind of credit.
Yeah. Your one fan that we met at MTAC is listening.
Yes. But yeah, if anyone from the Bell Court is listening and you are by chance in charge of, picking out what limited release movies are shown at your theater, thank you for showing this one.
All wuxia movies, always.
Right.
All of them.
Yes, indeed. And for my shit that doesn't suck is also pretty contemporary. Just came out actually the same night that we went to go see Godzilla. It's of course Rocket Man, the Elton John biopic. Saw that last night with mi madre and my brother, and I had an awesome time. They are both huge Elton John fans, as am I, and I love the shit out of this movie. It's not without its faults. I'd say the biggest thing is that it tends to focus a little bit too much on the negative. The parts of his life that were him being addicted to just his substance abuse problems, like with his problems with alcohol and drugs and just partying nonstop and all that. But I mean, that was kind of the rock and roll lifestyle of so many people, so many musicians that came up in the era from like from 40s and 50s all the way to the 90s basically, and even today, but I mean especially just that time period. But anyways, aside from that, the whole movie was absolutely incredible. It was a awesome blend of your typical biopic where it kind of educated you on some things that maybe you didn't know about Elton John, plus it had some like surrealistic aspects to it where just out of nowhere things would kind of get like really weird, like in that where you go to see like a musical that was made into a movie and you're like, okay, well, you kind of expect some weird stuff to happen. There was a little bit of that thrown in, and then some of his really popular, well-known live performances were also kind of reiterated throughout the movie. So yeah, like I said, overall it was a great film. I thought Taron Egerton did a fantastic job with his portrayal as Elton John. His vocal style is definitely not unlike Elton John. It's a little bit different, but he definitely did do him justice. I've been listening to Elton John for a long time. My parents made sure of that. And he definitely, like I said, he did the great piano player justice. So I was pretty happy with that. So that is my shit that doesn't suck.
Right on.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, I guess that'll do it for this third episode of Geek Garage Goes to the Movies. We are not exactly 100% sure when the next episode will be or what it will be on. We don't have anything slated for right now, but we will definitely be... we'll definitely continue to be active on the social medias out there to keep y'all updated as soon as we figure that shit out.
Well, we're not completely blind and useless. Like, we do have some ideas and
right.
some things we're going to cover, but they're more for near future dates, I guess you might say. So we do have some stuff coming out. I don't want to spoil everything, but I will say that I think a lot of people will be into it. And by a lot of people, I mean the 2 people that listen to us regularly.
Right.
But yeah, we do have some stuff coming up. It'll be kind of a weird little period, but we'll get through it and we'll keep cranking out shit that nobody cares about.
Yeah,
That's
for
what you
sure.
do.
It definitely might. Don't be surprised if there's maybe 1 or 2 episodes in the near future where Ted cranks out on his own and releases under the Geek Garage Goes to the Movies banner. Because I and my wife and kids were in a transitionary period where we're moving houses. So it's a little nuts. So yeah, I'll go ahead and apologize for, potentially in the near future being absent for a little bit. But like I said, I'm gonna try my hardest to make sure we can produce some sort of content in some form or fashion, because we don't want to alienate our 2 fans out there. So yeah. Ted, thanks again for joining me on this grand adventure. Once again, and like always, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, on our website, geekgaragepodcast.com. You can download the podcast or stream it at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, a bunch of other shit that's out there. Yeah, I think that's just about it. I guess be kind, stay geeky, lots of cheesecake, and do all that fun shit.